see. We will start our agenda with RS 2013-767, sponsors Matthews. This appropriates $3,400,000 in supplemental appropriations from the undesignated fund balance of the GSD General Fund to the Office of Emergency Management Grant Fund and the Police Department impound lot. It's been properly moved and seconded. In discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-768, sponsors Matthews, Dow, Johnson, and Bedney, approves the issuance of taxable public facility improvement revenue bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $15 million to finance the construction of a new hockey facility at Global Mall at the Crossings. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Council Lady Allen.
Thank you. I think this is a great facility, and I know there are an awful lot of young kids that are excited about having this in their neighborhood. I would hope that in the end it can be a money maker for us rather than something we have to subsidize every year. And I had asked for some information which has been supplied to me about the rent. I'm just wondering if we can kind of talk through the income and the outgo and how that all works.
Sure. Thank you, Council Lady. So generally speaking, when we, interest rates change day to day, but it's going to cost on this a little over $14 million of bonds. The Sports Authority will ultimately issue for the hockey facility that obviously will be adjacent to the library and the community center. The debt service on that over a 20-year basis is right at $1 million a year. Again, give or take a little bit depending on when we finally sell the bonds. The Predators have committed a lease payment that starts in the first years at $350,000 a year and then grows to $450,000 in the end. It's a total of $8 million over that 20-year lease term that they would be responsible for. And so the difference between that is Metro's responsibility, is the Sports Authority's responsibility, which ultimately becomes Metro's responsibility. And so what we will do is we will, during the course of the budget process, we will look at where the Sports Authority is on all of their obligations, and we will include an amount in the operating budget annually. I think we'll just probably call it Sports Authority subsidy. I don't know what we'll call it. We'll deal with it next year for the first time. And that will be an amount that the city will have to appropriate in its operating budget for the hockey facility. The trade-off on this was, we felt that we didn't really want the idea of the city being in another operating business. We're in a lot of businesses now, and there's risk with that, pros and cons associated with that. And so what we negotiated with the Predators is that they would make the lease payment, and they assume all financial risk of operating the facility. It'll be their employees, it'll be their pay the electricity, they pay the ice, it's all their responsibility. So Metro's responsibility will only be for making the debt service payment minus the lease payment. And we felt that was a good trade-off in negotiating this with them. Therefore, Metro doesn't have any upside potential. We know what our exposure is every year. We can budget for it. And if the Predators do exceedingly well in the operation of this facility, we built in a provision so that Metro could share in some of the upside. And so if in certain years they reach, they have a net operating income that exceeds the rent payment by 150%, then we start sharing in 25% of the upside on that. So we have some built-in, if it does really well, we have some built-in ability to get some additional money. If it does really poorly, our losses are capped. So that's sort of the trade-off and kind of the negotiating thoughts when we put this whole structure together.
All right, thank you, Council Lady Allen. Councilmember Tiger.
Thank you. John, when the Metros came up here asking for an extension of their lease or a renewal of their lease, we got a letter from them allowing the community as a whole to secure X number of weekends or days of use in that facility for public benefit events. Last year when the Titans were up here negotiating with us on their capital improvement plan, we had a similar verbal commitment but did not get a written commitment. There was a very successful jamboree held with Backfill in Motion and some other nonprofits last year that the Titans were very happy to participate in, but this year the opportunity went away because somebody was too busy. My question on this facility is, since there is the potential to do some really special things here, do we have built-in rights for city-used facility or city-used events sponsored by the appropriate parties?
Have agreed to do is essentially give back to the community. They're going to agree to give some scholarships, and all this will be spelled out in the lease in terms of the minimum commitments that the Predators are going to make. They're going to agree to give some internships to young people in the community to learn, so they can learn a little bit about sports world and how you operate. They're going to give some scholarships, and they're going to provide some discounts and free skating for Davidson County residents. And so there's a whole litany of things like that that they're going to give back to the community, so that if you want to go take some first-time skating lessons, there's ability to get some I can't remember if it's completely free or at least very reduced initial skating lessons, so that the public gets an opportunity to use this facility and see if they like it. So that is part of what their commitment is to the city. In terms of actually booking events, I think we would just have to go to them and use it because it's going to be so tied into practice schedules. They're going to use it for their own practice plus visiting teams. One of the big uses of this, I think, will be visiting teams when they come to town, because the other rinks are booked. They'll be able to use, some teams come for 2 or 3 days because they have off days, and then they might stay an extra day before they move on to the next city. And having this ice available will just allow them to stay in the city an extra day or two and all that. So between booking all that, the Predators will book the event, but I'm sure any kind of public event like that we can make arrangements for.
Well, shouldn't we have some type of written understanding that if Mayor Dean wanted to host a community-wide Christmas party skating event in cooperation with the CNAP group or whatever and get people out there, that if we did it early enough and way out in advance and say, we want on December the 18th to have this one day of free community skating, Christmas party. There might be a fundraising element to provide scholarships for Nashville Tech students going on campus nearby, that we have the absolute right as a community to get in our own building.
I don't recall, Margaret, help me, I don't believe there's anything directly that deals with that specifically in the lease. I don't think it'll be an issue or relationship with the Predators such that.
I didn't think it would be an issue with the Titans either, but it is.
I don't know the details of what you're talking about. I'll look into it. I didn't know about that. We can look into it and talk to them about that. I don't think it'll be a problem. We'll look into that. Get worked out.
Can we have some kind of preliminary answer for tomorrow?
I'll do my best.
Thank you. I know you don't have anything else to do, so.
Thank you, Councilman Tiger. Councilman Stein.
How does this change, I think Mr. Lynch is here, how does this change the usage of Centennial?
I mean, I think Tommy coming to the microphone. I mean, they're going to continue to use Predators are going to continue to use Centennial as their main practice facility from a day-to-day perspective, but it will create a lot more ice time and availability at Centennial.
Right now, we're using adult hockey after midnight. So, I mean, actually, the Predators being in Nashville have helped the Sportsplex up to this point, and the growth of hockey in general has been good. I personally think that this will actually, it may be a little blip at first, negative from the Sportsplex, but in the long run, I really think this is going to add to hockey. This is going to add to more people skating, and it's going to also, with us being in Midtown and downtown Nashville, I think it's going to ultimately help the Sportsplex ice arena operations.
So with the two facilities, there'll be more time for a community to participate on ice because we'll have a second facility.
Yes, sir. The use of hockey has really grown, and I think it'll also open up more figure skating access.
Thank you, Councilman Stein. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you. Also to share some information with Council Member Allen and others who expressed some of the same questions. One unique aspect of this facility is it's also going to be a combined rehabilitation center as well as a ice hockey rink for practice purposes, as well as they're going to have a partnership with Metro Schools, and that's going to be a unique thing to increase the activity and access to the sport. But I think one of the things that will generate some steady revenue is the rehabilitation part that they don't have right now.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Seeing no other council members in queue, all those in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-769, sponsors Matthews, approves the issuance of taxable public improvement revenue refunding bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $47 million. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-770, sponsors Matthews, appropriates a total of $2,150,000 to 28 nonprofit organizations selected to receive funding through the Community Enhancement Grants. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Councilman Tiger.
I'm just curious, and I'm all in favor of this. How many other agencies applied for this that we didn't have the money to supply, or what was the demand approximately? I'm just curious.
Total of 51?
And you could get that for us tomorrow. I'm just curious as to
I could get that for you,
if the pot
Councilman.
was bigger, who else would have benefited from it?
I could get that information for you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-771. We don't have a letter from Councilman Davis. No, this is not one of the two I have. We don't have a letter from Councilman Davis for, can we move this to the Hill? All right. We're going to move that one to the Hill. RS 2013-772, sponsors Matthews and Bennett, approves an application for a juvenile accountability block grant in the amount of $60,869 from the State Commission on Children and Youth to the Juvenile Court. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-773, sponsors Potts and Matthews, approves an annual state grant of $154,800 to the Davidson County Sheriff's Office for litter and trash pickup along roads and highways and litter prevention education. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-774, sponsors Matthews, approves an amendment to the pay plan for the general employees of the Metro government to clarify the calculation for the hourly rate of salaried employees. Been properly moved and seconded. In discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-775, sponsors Weiner and Matthews, approves a state grant of $733,282 from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Commission for meal delivery services. Been properly moved and seconded. In discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-776, sponsors Weiner and Matthews, approves a second amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and United Neighborhood Health Services to provide health care services at the downtown clinic. It's been properly moved and seconded. Council Lady Allen.
Just have a question for clarification. If I read the analysis right, this is a minimum of $355,000 plus. Is there a cap on that, or is it unlimited, or how does that work?
Mr. Sharp.
No, Council Lady Allen, it is for that amount. The contract allows this contract to be reduced by the same amount as the Health Department's general budget, which this reflects a 2% reduction. Other than that, that is what the contract's for.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-777, sponsors Weiner, Matthews, and Langster, approves a state grant of $610,400 to the Metro Board of Health for the Healthy Start program. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-778, sponsors Weiner, Matthews, and Langster, approves a federal grant of $353,150 to the Metro Board of Health for the Healthy Start initiative. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. RS 2013-782, sponsors Gilmore Matthews, approves an application for a grant of $70,000 from the Rotary Club of Tennessee to the Metro Parks Department, working in partnership with All the King's Men to construct a pavilion at Watkins Park. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Resolution passes. Before we go on the bills on second reading, we'll go ahead and go back to the resolution that was moved to the Hill. RS 2013-771, sponsors Davis and Matthews, authorizes the mayor to submit a third amendment to the action plan for Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds designated for recovery needs as a result of the May 2010 floods by reallocating $8,377,321.73 in funding. Council Lady Allen.
Actually, I had a question about some other resolutions. Maybe that should have been a point of order. Did 779 and 780 and 781 get skipped? Or did I blink?
They are not on the agenda.
Not on this committee. Never mind. Sorry.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing,
Councilman Duvall has an amendment for this one.
is there an amendment?
Yes.
There is an amendment for this one. Councilman Duvall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've offered an amendment for $1 million to be sent to the fairgrounds for the same type of flood restoration repair. Through no one's fault, in 2010, the administration had already announced that the fairgrounds would be closed in December 2010. Metro General Services was given the responsibility of assessing all Metro facility for flood damage, obtaining cost estimates, and scheduling approved repairs. Metro General Services was instructed to repair only the things absolutely necessary to continue operations through December 2010. There was no malfeasance here. It was just this was the right thing to do at the time based on the information they had. The following items were not repaired, and no estimates at that time were given because there was no intention of making those repairs if the facility was going to close. The repair to the RV camping hookups, water, sewer, electrical, that resulted in a significant loss of revenue to the grounds. Repair vehicle traffic bridge over Browns Creek, one of the bridges totally washed out, very expensive to repair. This has resulted in safety concerns, traffic jams, and at close of events, and actually access coming in to the events. Repairing paving in 5 Points parking area, ADA area, and bus roads. Repair pits area, restrooms, electrical building. We still have a makeshift plywood building in place, and repair pits entrance building, which was completely destroyed. Now, that's what the $1 million appropriates for. It's all documentable damage that was incurred in 2010. And again, there was no one doing anything wrong at the time, nobody trying to circumvent any system. It was based on a decision as to what was going to happen at the time at the best information available. I'm asking that this $1 million be appropriated and pulled back away from the West Bank appropriations, fully fund to Jefferson Street as they have asked. Very similar type situation. Thank you so much.
The amendment has a motion on the floor. Is there a second? It's been properly seconded. And Councilman Garrett, did you want to speak on the amendment?
Please. John, would you kind of tell us where we would be if we were to pass this because this is federal money, and what would probably have to be done in order to do anything if this could be done? I'm not sure this is the right avenue, but I'll let you explain that.
Sure, I'll give you my answer, and then I think Joe Kane's back there, and Angie can help. My understanding is before this came to the council, you had to go through a public comment period as required by the federal government. That has been done. The amendment was, as submitted to the council, was approved by MDHA board. If that changed, if this amendment were adopted, you would probably have to go back and do another public comment period, and then it would be up to the federal government to determine whether these projects were eligible for this funding. So the council would be essentially authorizing the submission of a revised plan to the federal government, but it would be up to them to determine whether these projects could be funded.
Estimated timetable?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Angie Hubbard, the Director of Community Development at MDHA. And Mr. Cooper is correct that if an amendment is made to add this new activity, it would require additional public comment. The comment period for the disaster plan is required 7 calendar days. We typically go 10 to 12. It would also have to return to the MDHA board and then back to council for approval. This also would perhaps trigger a little bit of inquiry from HUD, as this would be a new activity in the plan over 3 years from the flood. Since we've had prior amendments with public comment period and this was not an activity, one of the national objectives that's contained in the amendment is urgent need, and we are expressly prohibited from adding an activity under urgent need after 18 months from the date of a disaster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Tiger.
So, Angie, that legalese, the bottom line is, if the council should approve Councilman Duval's amendment, the federal government could say, yes, it might qualify after the public comment and all that other stuff. Yes, it may apply, no, it may not.
Correct.
Would it impact the total dollar amount that's to be shifted? Or are we just delaying that shift of money from today or tomorrow for X number of weeks?
You would be delaying the shift because it's part of an entire plan. So anything presented in this plan would go back through the comment period.
And the time frame for delaying would be?
Again, it's the public comment period of 7 calendar days, and then back following then the MDHA board and then council again.
But the federal government to say, yes, you can do this, or no, you can, is that a 30-day or 2-year?
About 30 days, 30 to 45 days.
All right, so the question for Rich or Greg or whoever, would a 30-day delay on whatever this proposal does, shifting the money, cause any harm, or what's the downside?
Well, it's up to the council on the downside, and they can make their own determination of that. But, I mean, the original riverfront redevelopment was part of the original plan, as I understand it. And so adding the fairgrounds fundamentally changes what was authorized and presented to the feds. And so I don't know whether would they accept that at this late date, Angie? I don't know the answer to that.
I can't speak for HUD, but again, any new activities added to the plan 3 years after the disaster would trigger their further inquiry into the eligibility of the activity as well as the costs that may be associated. I can't say whether or not at the end of the day they would approve it or not.
Right. I mean, the purpose of this shift is to prepare some necessary flood measures on the downtown, on the west side of the river. As we all recall, I mean, there was a lot of damage throughout the city, but there was significant damage in the downtown area, including the Symphony Hall and a bunch of the buildings downtown. And the idea behind this is to use these funds to help build flood mitigation measures, which we want to get onto with the design immediately. So, you know, I mean, I don't know how to weigh the delay.
So the
but I mean,
downside really is $1 million less to allocate for downtown flood mitigation.
Right, which I don't know if, I doubt if that's sufficient to do the work itself, but it would be $1 million less.
$1 million less.
And some delay, which we can all decide ourselves on what that means.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Tiger. Does anyone else, Councilman Duvall?
Thank you, Chairman. The Jefferson Street that was added, when did that get added?
The Jefferson Street was added when we did Amendment 1 to the plan, which was the public comment period opened on May 27th, 2011 and closed June 7th. If I may give you a little historical context of when we received this money, the first allocation of $10.7 million we received from HUD in February of 2011. That was programmed primarily to housing. We did not receive our second allocation of $22.3 million until December of 2011. At that point is when we added in the multifamily homes, which is the Jefferson Street, the riverfront, and the additional housing activities at that time. So that has been in since Amendment 1. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman Duvall. Councilman Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just reluctant to say too much, but I'm going to vote no, and I'm going to say that there are other avenues that other individuals are looking into with the help of the administration and the council lady in the district where the fairgrounds are located that may help with what quite a few members of the council here would like to do. And I think with that, that's enough probably said. I just, you know, because it puts many of us on the spot when we're, you know, first thing to do, the press is going to want to know what's going on. But the bottom line is that there are other areas to look at, but I'm going to vote no. I think this needs to go down the riverfront. I think the administration has shown what they need to do with this, but they have also shown the ability to work with the other council members, and hopefully we can do something at the fairgrounds with Senator Moore's help as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Garrett. Councilor Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. I just have one question. You had mentioned that you didn't think that this money was going to be sufficient to cover all of the flood mitigation and improvements to the west bank of the river. How much do you anticipate that's going to run?
I don't have the numbers now. I mean, I probably overspoke, but you know, until we get more detailed numbers, I mean, it's a big barrier we want to put up. So I mean, not a barrier, but a promenade that would serve that purpose. So I don't have the numbers yet. That's what we want to do next, is get this issue resolved so that we can then move forward with getting the design work done on it.
Okay, thanks.
Councilman Claiborne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for clarity on these funds. The dollars that are being moved, are any of those dollars presently available for areas of town that were part of the 2010 flood that still need mitigation, folks who still need help?
Ms. Hubbard.
Yes, and I guess it really depends on the type of help that you are inquiring about, whether it's direct housing assistance or something along the stormwater. We're still moving through with the FEMA buyouts as well as with the voluntary acquisition to purchase homes that were drastically flooded to leave as an open space or greenway. I believe Water Services has been working, and Mr. Palco's here that may be able to speak to that on what conversations they've had. We do have 2 projects funded through this grant for stormwater projects, and as well as our housing activities that are continuing.
Could we get Mr. Palco to chime in on this?
Yes.
Hi. We don't see that this shift would be taking money away from those activities that we've got going on. If you'll recall, with the buyout, we started with 305 houses, and 100 of those dropped off, so we ended up doing 200. So we don't feel that this shift of this money is going to detract or take away from anything we're doing on the current buyout.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that if we have money that's available for people in different parts of the county that were affected by the flood, that we're not taking money away from those areas to put it downtown in a much more concentrated, localized area. That doesn't seem to be a fair thing to do.
None of the funds that are being reprogrammed are from any of those types of activities. There's no money being reprogrammed from the buyout or the voluntary acquisition activities. Those budgets remain the same.
Thank you, Councilman Claiborne. Councilor A. Moore.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. Since I didn't know anything about this amendment, I just want to be recorded as not in favor of this. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Councilor A. Moore. Councilman Perdue. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, the only question I've got, not being a member of Budget and Finance, have we paid everybody what we owe them from the flood?
Are you inquiring about individual homeowners?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as anyone that has applied for assistance and is eligible, I assume, and Loretta from the Housing Fund that's administered the housing programs can speak to that. What we can only pay for are the unmet needs of a homeowner. What they were, the repairs that, if they did repairs on their own and incurred their own expenses, we cannot make them whole. We cannot reimburse them for that. All we were able to do is assist with the repairs that were remaining after the flood.
Okay, I just want to be clear that when we leave here tonight, I know that we don't owe nobody no money before we start spending money somewhere else.
We still have funding available to assist anyone that still may have a housing need. We haven't completely eliminated the housing activities at all. There is still assistance available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Perdue. Councilman Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, thanks for recognizing me again. Just one other question. Is this part of, I think dancing in the district was called off this past Thursday because the river got up. Would this be one of those things that would help that from not happening again? Because we didn't have a flood, but would that help in some way? I mean, is that?
I don't know specifically about this event. Does somebody else know?
Well, I'm just thinking about that area.
I think that would be the goal, would be to create an opportunity so these things don't happen in the future. But I don't know specifically how high the river was and whether.
Well, it was just the river rising, and I just wondered if I'm assuming that's part of it. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other council members, we are voting on the amendment, not the bill itself. So the vote that we're going to take is on the amendment that Councilman Duvall has introduced. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed to the amendment? No. If you could raise your hand. The chair votes no.
0, 4, 10 against.
All right, 0, 4, 10 against on the amendment. We're now back on the bill. All those in favor, or is there any discussion on the bill itself? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Resolution passes. We're now on to bills on second reading. Bill 2013-498, sponsors Tigert, amends the Metropolitan Code to establish a community garden grant program. Been properly moved and seconded. Councilman Tigert, did you have any comments? All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Bill passes. Bill 2013-502, sponsors Baker and Matthews, relinquishes the Metro government's interest in the former West Nashville Police Precinct property located at Charlotte Pike next to the Nashville West Development, and there is a proposed substitute to this bill. John, if you want to explain the substitute.
The substitute corrects the location, the address of the property, clarifies the exact location, and also clarifies that the size of the property that's being, our interest is being relinquished in is 3.62 acres instead of 3.8. It also grants an easement to the developer, sewer easement that they're going to need for the development of the property.
All right, I'll entertain a motion. Been moved and seconded to move the substitute. Councilman Stein?
Mr. Cooper, I understood that they had committed to keeping the log house. Is that?
Yes, they're going to move it to another area of the property.
But it's going to be maintained.
They're going to maintain it there, along with the restroom facilities. Right. And there's also a companion zoning bill that kind of goes along with this bill that will is actually on third reading for tomorrow night.
All right, Council Lady Allen.
Just had a question. Is there a park or is there any playground equipment or anything near there?
Well, there's a park there now that is actually on property that the Nashville West development owns, but it is available for public use. So there is some playground equipment there currently next, the parcel next to this property.
And Metro doesn't own that and isn't, Metro's maintaining something, if I understood the analysis correct. Is that, I may just need to have it all explained again. I read it, but it's.
I think this park, if you want to call it that, is maintained by Nashville West. I always thought that it was maintained by Metro until we got into this project, and I found out that it was actually private. Is that right, Mr. Lynch?
And do we expect it to stay, or is it going, or?
That they take care of it, but it's going to remain as a park and still have total access to the playground and the park.
Great.
All right, Councilman Baker.
This playground equipment is over behind, you go under, through a tunnel, getting over to the playground equipment behind Logan's and the Red Robin. There's no playground equipment on the site where the old West Police Precinct is now, just a log cabin, and that will be set up in a different location on the property, and the restrooms will also stay.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Councilman Tiger.
The $450,000 payment, is that going into general fund or into the Parks Department budget?
Well, it'll go into the general fund, but it's for the Parks Department.
And it's already been addressed in this year's budget?
Well, it's going to go into the open space fund, so it's going to be made available so parks can use this money to buy additional park property.
Okay, great.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the substitute, I'm sorry. All in favor of the substitute? All opposed? The substitute passes. We're now to the bill as substituted. I'll entertain a motion. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? The bill passes as substituted. Bill 2013-503, sponsors are Dow, Matthews, and others, approves an agreement with Global Mall Partnership for the exchange of property located at the former Hickory Hollow Mall site. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Bill passes. Bill 2013-504, sponsors Matthews, authorizes Metro government to enter into a participation agreement with Battelle Memorial Institute to investigate the performance of sewer rehabilitation liners. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Bill passes. Bill 2013-505, sponsors Anthony Davis, Potts, and Matthews, authorizes the acquisition and acceptance of right-of-way easements, construction easements, and other property rights for a public works project at the Riverside Drive and McGavick Pike intersection at an estimated acquisition cost of $10,000. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Bill passes. Bill 2013-506, Sponsors Baker, Potts, and Claiborne. Abandons the water and sewer easements rights that were retained by ordinance number 082-1047 when a portion of the 50th Avenue North right-of-way was abandoned on property located at 4915 Louisiana Avenue. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Bill passes. Bill 2013-507 sponsors Potts, Claiborne, and Lancaster. Abandons water and sewer mains and associated easements and accepts replacement mains on property located at 2500 Charlotte Avenue for construction of the new Lentz Public Health Center. Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Bill passes, and that concludes our agenda for this afternoon. Thank you.